Hey, what's going on YouTube? Raj here. I'm in a different part of my house today and I'm going to be doing a pre-review thought. Today I'm going to be reviewing Clive Christian C for Men as part of my luxury fragrance series. But before I get into that, just wanted to talk about the brand and a few issues and a few points I wanted to just give you my thoughts on basically. So Clive Christian, they're a house definitely at the exclusive luxury side of the market. And for me they produce quality fragrances. Whether they are worth the money is a separate issue and I'll talk about that later on. But one thing I noticed about the house is that it polarizes opinions, and I've seen that on YouTube, on people's videos and on comments left on those people's videos. One thing I want to talk about is samples. There was a video out there from Brandon, Distinguished Gent 1, where he actually did a sort of first impressions of Clive Christian C for Men, the one I'm going to be talking about later on. And you've probably seen the video, so I'll just briefly talk about it. He had 3 sample cards. He tried to get some juice out of the first and the second one, and it just didn't work, and he finally ended up getting a little bit of juice out of the third one. And I looked at that video and I thought, Clive Christian, they're a luxury fragrance house and they're producing these pretty pathetic looking sample cards. I thought, well, what's going on there? That's a little bit strange. It didn't seem right to me that a company which is not very accessible for a lot of people probably, you know, they won't live near a store which stocks it. I think the price can be a little bit off-putting to some people as well. So I thought, you know, producing a sample which doesn't even work and produces just a tiny amount was not the best way of introducing yourself to any potential customer. I thought that was quite a poor show, and I was a little bit disappointed to see that, because I think Clive Christian is actually a really good house and a lot of people should experience their fragrances at some point in their life. One guy who didn't have a good impression on on 3 of the fragrances he tried was Dan, my Mickers. He completely slaughtered the house on some of the fragrances he tried, and I kind of see where he's coming from. I think a lot of the fragrances, you really have to love them to think that they are a justified purchase, because they're a lot of money, you can't deny that. And as I said, you know, price is something I'll touch on later. Another thing I wanted to talk about was Clive Christian actually bought. Actually, no, they talk about in their marketing spiel that they are reviving the values and the arts of perfumery established by the Crown Perfumery company. The Crown Perfumery company was a company which Clive Christian actually bought. And, you know, they talk about reviving this lost art of perfumery, but then they decided to completely discontinue the Crown Perfumery, and their fragrances are no longer in existence, which was a massive shame for me, because it was my dad actually who introduced me to the Crown Perfumery, and their fragrances were excellent. And to see a fragrance company bought and then just completely scrapped was a massive shame. And for whatever reason they did that. They wanted to focus on the Clive Christian side of the business. They didn't feel they could reproduce the fragrances because they didn't have the right formula books or whatever it was. It's a shame, because they bought the company, they narrowed down the selection, they had a store here in London, and then it just completely went. So that's a little bit disappointing as well. Third thing I wanted to talk about is quality. The Clive Christian fragrances are quality, you can't deny that. I really don't think you can deny that. They are made without reference to costs, so it's all about the quality of the ingredients, sourcing the finest ingredients around the world and putting that into a bottle and selling that as a fine fragrance. But the thing which I think really polarizes opinions is the price here. And people will look at a fragrance, and I'll look at a fragrance like 1872, and I'll smell it. I've smelt it a few times, and it's a great fragrance. I would love to own that fragrance, but I don't want to pay, you know, the price for it, 180, 195 pounds or however much it is, because it just really doesn't wow you. It doesn't have that wow factor, and I think a lot of people want that. They would demand that in a luxury fragrance, and a fragrance at that price and that side of the market. I think X for Men is a really good option. If I am going to buy another fragrance from Clive Christian, it probably would be X for Men. I need to test it out a little bit more. I might have to buy a sample actually to really test it out, because when you're paying that sort of money, you really need to love the fragrance, and I'm a little bit undecided at the moment. I do like it, but I'm not sure at the moment. And yeah, price, you know, just because a fragrance is at the pricier side of things and probably the most craziest price you'll ever see, it doesn't always mean quality. I've smelt, you know, 1872, it didn't have that wow factors for me. And Clive Christian are in the Guinness Book of Records as sellers of or makers of the world's most expensive perfume, and I think that annoys people. I think that annoys some people because they look at it and they think they're talking about the world's most expensive perfume, but is it the world's best perfume? And I think a lot of people disagree. Another thing which I noticed, actually, which I found a little bit strange, is that they market this line, you know, the world's most expensive perfume, quite a lot. And if you notice here, this is the bag where Clive Christian fragrance comes in, and it says there, the world's most expensive perfume. And when you watch videos online and when you hear about Clive Christian, a lot of people say, oh, they sell #1 for men and for women, the world's most expensive perfume, which I think is, I don't think that's the best marketing tactic to have, to brag about price, you know. I think that really annoys people, and it's a bit strange for me because this is a British house, and you know, British people, stereotype here, but you know, they can be a little bit reserved at times. They don't like to you know, don't like to sort of brag too much, they don't like to shout from the rooftops, they like to do things in a more understated way. So for Clive Christian to put that on their bag here, the world's most expensive perfume, and to talk about we sell the world's most expensive perfume, it's maybe not in maybe not in good taste. And so up to this point I've said quite a lot of negative things about the house, but I bought Clive Christian C for Men. And the reason I bought it is because it's the most amazing fragrance I've ever tried. It's the best fragrance I own in my collection, and it's definitely it's definitely justified to do a review on this as part of the luxury fragrance series. So stay tuned for that review, it's coming up soon.